Hi.
I'm James.
Shana.
Hey, Shana.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to the barn.
Thank
I'm going to give
you.
you a little tour around to show you what we have.
Okay.
This is a concept out of permaculture, and it's called a food forest garden.
Okay.
I have a fig tree there. There's a peach tree there, another fig tree, a pear tree. These vines here on this broke down trellis, those are actually inside. We have some kiwis as well.
Oh, okay.
But
Nice.
let's walk around and I will show you a few things. The pear tree over here, you can see the production on it. Even though it's small, it's producing some
quite a
wonderful
bit.
large fruit.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, remember how I told you how to harvest them?
Yes. So you said
Lift it up.
horizontal.
Lift it up horizontal. If it doesn't break off, it's not ready. Oh, that one did.
It broke off.
You got yourself a pear.
All right.
And now what you want to do with those, though, is you want to put those inside of a paper sack, like with bananas or ripe apples.
Okay.
Or ripe bananas. The gases, the ethylene gas coming off of it, will help this to ripen.
Okay.
And 2 to 3 days, it should be ripe.
Oh, wow.
If you eat it now, it's going to be dry, not very moist. But if you wait for 2 to 3 days, it should be wonderful. I would peel it and peel back the peeling, and you can do like a poached pear that's quite good too. You like to, where you cut it in half and put it in water with a little liqueur or maybe some vanilla, and it's quite tasty.
Really?
Okay.
Huh.
But this little guy produces quite a few pears for as small as it is. This fig tree, if you look inside there, you can see the stumps like up underneath. 3 years ago, that was how big it was. It got cut down to that.
Wow.
I didn't follow my own advice, and I always tell people to do a deep water right before you have a hard freeze. Well, I didn't do that. I did a light water, and this is one of my mama trees. You can see it's like probably, oh gosh, 20 feet tall now. This is 3 years growth coming back.
Wow.
So that what it did, it drew all the moisture from the limbs down into the roots to survive. But when basically the freeze was over, there was no way to get the moisture back up into the tree. And so I had to cut it down with tears and let it come back, and it did, and it's doing quite well. Would you like to try the fruit?
Please.
All right, give me a second here.
I've never actually seen a fig tree. Wait, is that what Jesus
No, this is what Adam and Eve used.
Yes, to cover themselves
in the garden. Here you go, try that one.
So I just eat it?
Just eat it like it is.
Okay. It's delicious. Wow.
This is called a Celeste fig.
Wow.
And it's got a kind of a little bit of a honey overtone to it. Because the problem with these, the birds watch them. And when they're green, they leave them alone. But when they shift to color to tan,
then they feast.
Then they feed on them.
Oh, yes. Wow, this is so good. I've never had fresh figs.
Yeah, most people think of figs as fig Newtons. And I say, I like figs. But then when they actually eat them, I can't keep them away.
I know. Wow. Very, very good.
Down. This did have a bunch. We've already harvested it, but it's getting a second flush right now.
How often do you harvest it?
Daily, if we can, because if not, the birds get it. And the birds will get one little pluck, and then that's it.
Wow.
They don't eat the whole thing.
Oh, really?
I don't mind sharing if they ate the whole thing.
Right, but it's just a pluck. It's like, well, now I can't eat it.
Now, this little tree here, see these little fruits? Persimmons.
Oh, really?
And this is a Native American persimmon. I've had this tree for, oh Lord, probably 18 years. It produced 2 to 3 persimmons, that's all, every year. And I was kind of discouraged about it. And then about 3 years ago, I started using the microbes on it from Korean Natural Farming, and it began to respond. And I had 16 persimmons on it. Thinking figs still because I'm the but persimmons on it. Last year, I used my proprietary mix of soil feeders on this and sprayed it with regularity. I thought, oh, maybe I'll have 30, figs to the double from the time before. I had 80 some persimmons off of it. 80 some persimmons.
And it was all from doing.
And this is the off season now from that. But we'll still have, I don't know, probably 30 or 40 of them in here.
So what's the season for the persimmons?
Oh, you eat them.
Like what? But what season? Like when do they grow?
Oh, they'll grow all throughout the summer. You don't harvest when they grow, and they'll grow all the way out through. And then in the fall, they'll turn orange. You have to watch it daily, and you test them just like I did with the figs.
Uh-huh.
And you test them, and they're firm, they're firm, they're firm. You don't eat them then. They're very very bitter. Okay, very
Okay.
astringent. But then when they get to the point where they seem like they're rotting, like they're falling off almost, so you squeeze them, and you almost stick your finger into them.
Uh-huh.
Then they're ripe, and they're
Ah.
absolutely amazing. They're like a persimmon jelly.
Wow,
They're
that
really really
sounds
good.
great. That sounds so delicious.
And
That's
my
awesome.
wife, she's from Korea
Uh-huh.
and loves persimmons. I brought some back when I was in Korea a few years ago for her. So I'm really excited that we have them now. We've been eating them off the
Yeah.
tree, but you have to wait a long time when they're still beautiful and ready to harvest. You think, but they're not yet.
They're not quite.
Okay. And then
Wow.
over here, this tree we just cut down part of it, and I've got to cut down more. This is a corkscrew willow. You
Okay.
can see how this is, how it kind of screws around.
Uh-huh.
Corkscrew willow. But the other beauty of
Nice.
willow, and this tree, oh gosh, it's got to be 20 years old, maybe more, 25. Normally they only live about 15 years. And you can see it's dying from the top, but it still has life in it. But
Okay.
the beauty of it, the Native Americans used to take the bark and when it's green, this is not, it's dry, but they take it and chew on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a aspirin. Helps with a
Really?
headache, yeah.
Huh.
And then the other thing is too that I use when I propagate, when I talk about my mama fig trees, I'll start fig trees and it takes me 6 months to release them, usually about a year is the ideal time to release them to sell to people to have a tree. Okay? And what I'll do is take a piece of this, maybe about this long,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll scrape it with my knife, the bark, because it's
Mm-hmm.
green then, right? So it's all wet. Put it down inside with the cutting off the fig tree, and almost 100 out of 100. I mean, sometimes maybe 95, but most all of them will start. Fig's easy to start anyway, but with
Really?
this it makes it better because it's got a hormone in it similar to what you have with the rooting hormone. Instead of having to dip it in the chemical, you just put the piece of bark down inside there
So
and it starts.
for people living in the city, is that something that we can do like on our patio or like, just being able to grow figs or
Oh
something?
yeah, you can grow it on the patio. You can grow it on a large pot. And it'll produce. Usually takes about 3 years to produce any kind of number of figs, and
Okay.
then from that time on, it should produce well.
Okay.
Okay,
But it,
but
it
you
would be
would.
a good way to start
It's a
if
great way
you're
to
planning
start,
on.
and
Okay.
basically, in a patio, you could probably go up 7 feet tall in the patio. So that's still a pretty good
Pretty,
sized fig.
yeah.
Okay, that one I use primarily to produce baby figs. I have other trees
Okay.
propagation. This bed over
Okay.
here, it's fallow right now, and that's a good thing to do. Basically, God's a lot smarter than we are, and He said to have a kind of a time of jubilee where we
The
let the
land
ground rest,
rest.
and so
Hmm.
I'm letting that rest. But I produced a lot of things over in that in the past. I produced sweet potatoes, I produced squash, that sort of thing. But what
Okay.
I've done is I have a reverse hugelkultur, and hugelkultur is a concept that was originated in Austria by a fellow that's a permaculturist, and he would build up mounds using wood and wood chips and that sort of thing, and it'll hold moisture, and it's kind of a microclimate and plant in that. Here, since we have the heat, I do a reverse hugelkultur. We have plenty of rain, but to keep it on the property is a big thing. So you want to plant water. So I dug out and put the wood chips and branches down in the ground, put soil on top,
Ah.
and plant on there. And it does really well. So it's fairly self-sustaining, where you don't have to do too much to it because it
Okay.
holds water whenever it rains. It doesn't use much
Nice.
water, and that
Would
goes
have
well.
never
And
thought to do that.
this year I haven't done anything. Probably going into the spring, I'll replant it over there again. I would
Okay.
have planted sweet potatoes, but I want it to rest. And there's a lot of herbs in here. Like this over here is lamb's quarters, and that's actually edible. It has probably, I've heard, more nutrient than spinach does, and
Oh
it's pretty
wow.
tasty.
Really?
And it grows. It's a weed, but it grows wild around here. We've actually taken the seeds when we found them at other places and cast them. Sounds crazy to plant weeds, but weeds are
Yeah.
beneficial, and
Is that what
we
that
would know
is
what
too,
they
or
are.
no?
No, those are
Those.
suckers coming off the tree.
Okay.
Okay. Now over here, I'm going to let you pick some other figs if you'd like.
Yes.
They're different ones though.
Oh, I see.
Now these figs, I really like what they do, and it's basically an adaptation that's happened that's been bred into them. There's about 400 different types of figs, but these, in God's brilliancy, made it where you can see this is a good example here. See how dark green this is?
Uh-huh.
Feel how firm that is. It's
Oh
hard.
yeah, that is
You don't
hard.
want to sick your teeth into that, right?
Right.
But what happens when they ripen, feel this one. When they ripen,
Oh
they
wow,
just
that's
kind of
very
pop like
soft.
popcorn
Yeah.
and get about a third bigger, and then they get like this. And you just take and cut this here. They'll have liquid come out of it. It's like a form of latex, actually,
Oh,
just
like
from
milk.
the plant. It's their milk. But if you take that, tear that in half, and show Rebecca what it looks like on the inside.
That's
See?
beautiful.
And figs,
That's
another thing that's
beautiful.
interesting about figs, you can see all inside there. The
Hmm.
fig's actually a flower that grows inside out. So that's the flower from the inside
Ah,
out.
nice. So I
Yeah,
can eat this now?
yeah, of course.
Delicious. I love figs now.
Now I'll let you harvest some. Come over here.
Okay.
Take this one. This one's not quite right, and I'll use the cutters. And you can just pull them off, but sometimes they grab a little hard.
Like that?
Yeah, that's it. And look,
Nice.
there's a couple more over
Look
here
at the
too.
milk on my arm.
We can pick some for everybody else as well. Here's one here that's right. Let me see. Those two are right. This one's right.
Okay.
And the only birds that seemed to be able to figure these out are grackles. Grackles, God didn't bless them with beauty, and they're obnoxious. They scream all the time, but they figured out how
Yes, I
to
hear them
survive.
like, yeah, they're very annoying actually.
And here's a couple more over here. Let me just pull these off.
It's dripping with milk.
Now you see why I clipped them. See how this tore?
Yes.
But too bad.
Yeah.
All good.
Nice.
And here,
That one's a pretty big one.
that one and that one both.
Wow. We need a little basket.
Yeah.
Almost got it. Ah, got it.
Now, as you know,
Get that
you can
last one.
compare fresh food to
Store-bought?
store-bought food. How does this compare to
Oh.
like Fig Newtons?
Oh my goodness. Fig Newtons, it's like, it's not even a fig. It doesn't even seem like a fig in comparison to this. This is so good. It's so flavorful. It's not bitter. You know, I know like some figs, which is why I don't like them, because the outside of them are so bitter.
You can actually skin these if you want to, but I don't.
But
feel
you
like
don't need to. Yeah, it's like every part of this fig is really good to eat. But if you get fresh figs, well, supposedly fresh figs in the store, you have to pull them apart and just kind of eat the inside if you don't want the bitter part of it. So, and then they're hard at that. So this is like pretty amazing to me.
Well, welcome to the barn. Hopefully
Well,
inspired
thank
you.
Yes.
Let's go share those with others.
Yes. All
Thanks
right.
for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me.